There's some ponies here. Hello. How are you? Yes. You've all got ropes. Are you supposed to be here? You sure? You sure you're supposed to be here? Don't get into trouble with the fence and your rope. It's cause problems. It's all cuggy up here, look. No, you'll eat it. Can't eat it. It's all sweaty and horrible. Have a nice time. A nice afternoon. You can't. I'm off. I can't eat my pants. No, you get into trouble. Tell them. Tell them. Behave themselves. Bye-bye. I came out for a walk to think about Jade's video on Hamilton's equations. It was very nice to see that, Jade, thank you. And I got my copy of Grant and Phillips. At the same time, I got a copy of a book called Women Who Run with the Wolves, which apparently was a big deal in the 90s, but I didn't get to hear about it. So back to boundaries. The boundary of a boundary is 0. Something else interesting that Wheeler said. He wrote it somewhere. He made up a funny story about some members of tribes and the different ways they dressed. And it was something about discrimination information. And it was a kind of intuitive motivation for the idea of the square amplitude being the probability distribution. Because in this model of these tribes, I can't remember, but they had names like Ouroboros or something, but it can't have been that. It was to do with the number of individuals you needed to observe in order to distinguish the two. And it was essentially information theoretic. It's a coach, that's the coach for these 4 women in a boat. Actually 5, including the cocks. That's pretty, look. I sent Laura Pausini a sad video last night, but she could make it better. She could make it much better. I'll pay for the coffee. What an adventure. I remember the person living there used to have this beautiful wooden boat with an electric engine, I think. But in days of yore, it was some kind of, I don't know, what kind of engine. It did look like a powered boat, it wasn't a rowing boat. It used to sail up and down the river in a beautifully varnished strip, kind of cedar strip style construction boat. Here's the pub. It's a kind of gastro pub. That lecture by Steve Awodey was brilliantly clear. Really makes it all. That's the kind of thing I wanted to get to. Absolutely kind of straightforward, crystal clear, no big deal. This is just how it is, and it's kind of inescapable. The guy's brilliant. Interesting how often spheres come up in that. In spheres in higher and higher dimensions. If you imagine proofs on those spheres, then you can kind of slide them around anyway, can't you? Any which way. I don't know that will get you to any kind of intuitive understanding of the spikiness of higher dimensional spheres. But I also saw a nice video this morning by Daniel Tubenauer, two videos on blow-ups in projective geometry. And that example I gave sitting by the railway track or I tried to give sitting by the railway track in Tecate, about projecting surfaces onto two-dimensional surfaces, and how the discontinuities depended on they weren't in the object, but they arose in the course of projection. That was an example of it. You have these singularities on the ridges, at the tops of the ridges of the surface, where you have local maxima. Then you get these points with zero. Well, they kind of null. They're null normals or something. I don't know what you would call them. But maybe there are all sorts of things you can do in electromagnetism with this stuff. Hilbert's 16th problem, I think, was to come up with some kind of axiomatization for physics. So whatever axiomatization you would again want something to do with experiment and confirmation and descriptions of experiments and translations between descriptions of experiments and things like that. That would seem to be a good way to do it. It is all joined up, but when all people talk about are the parts of the elephant, you really do lose sight of the elephant. And it's kind of depressing to hear all these different... You just think, well, how am I going to know what to study? Elephantology is just a lost art.